Hello everyone and welcome to Powersports Strategy. I'm David Archibald and I just wanted to say that I'm glad to be back. I took 2 years off from making podcasts. I was lucky enough to welcome a brand new baby boy, so my wife and I have not been sleeping all that well over the last 2 years, and of course economic downturn has made it a little more difficult, so it's amazing when things get slower, you actually work a lot more. So I took a couple years off, but in those 2 years, I had many things come to my mind and said, oh, I should do a podcast on that, or I'd like to talk about that. And so I'm back, I'm ready to start again. And today I'm very fortunate to have one of my longtime reps, but I also call him a friend, and Gianluca Maggiori, and he's here today, and we're going to talk about MV Agusta. He's now, what's your title now?
Head of sales.
Head of sales for MV Agusta, and we will discuss a few things. So welcome to the show, Gianluca. I'm happy you're here. One of your normal visits to Ho Chi Minh City to see us, and I guess give my audience an update. Where you been, what have you been doing, and how did you arrive at head of sales at MV Agusta?
Sure. Thank you, David. It's a great pleasure being here. Okay, this is an MV Agusta story. It was quite new for all the group. As you know now, we're in process with the startup family and the PIERER Mobility's group to integrate the business MV into the KTM family. Personally speaking, I started my journey with motorbikes in Asia. My background was pretty much from the college, like on the financial side. But at a certain point, when it was about deciding between consultancy or banking, I said, you know what? Actually, my dream has always been automotive. So I'll give a chance to one of the two Italian companies that were on my radar at that moment. It was Ferrari and it was Ducati.
Okay.
MV was not really, trouble, problems. It was
Sure.
not really like something I was considering that time. So I started directly in Asia. Ducati said, cool, yeah, sure. We have a place, a factory in Thailand. Why don't you go there? Okay. And this is how I ended up in the automotive world, let me say. After that, I moved to Singapore with KTM. And so totally different reality. We passed from a certain kind of customers to passing from, let's say, total motorsport on KTM, let's say all the off-road side, to the mass market, to the small bikes that are very strong here. And eventually, basically last Christmas, this talks about the PIERER Mobility Group getting into an Italian brand. It came stronger and stronger, and eventually they became a reality when we started the operation with the US. So at first, MV and KTM should have cooperating only on the US market, but eventually the strategy seems strong, the synergy seems to be very promising, and the two groups decided to work together. My adventure started basically with MV started very recently. I can say officially I'm having this position since this summer. And the story is that, let's say, the group, it's interesting story because we have a management team that mainly comes from this part of the world, from Asia, that is also having a mixed experience in different groups, but mainly it's KTM and Ducati, also for the luxury side. And we are now all trying to make a difference with MV. It's something that is new for everybody. We know that it's a group that had a lot of difficulties from the past. It's an Italian company. It's one of those companies that are so focused on making a great product that eventually they forget to make a business out of it.
Yeah.
And you can think about many names, from Lancia to Alfa Romeo to Laverda to Mondial. How many of the Italian brands went out of business, right? But MV is so strong that despite all the challenges, despite the small numbers they did, they managed to remain so iconic that the brand is still super strong. So we are sure that integrating this fantastic history and fantastic heritage into the best practice of the PIERER Mobility Group, we are sure that in a few years we will look back and say, wow, that's a great journey.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That so for those that don't know, the PIERER Mobility Group that handles KTM and Husqvarna and Gas, along with some bicycle brands, is now taking over the distribution control. Is that right?
Correct.
Of MV Agusta, and so Gianluca and it will be working with most of the countries outside of where? Like you'll be handling which countries primarily?
Worldwide. So basically the companies, let's say we created a few companies. Today we have the MVSPA, that is the regional group, as the production, let's say. At this stage, KTM, PIERER Mobility Group, has only the 25% of it.
Okay.
Then we have the distribution group, that is instead reversed. 75% is under PIERER Mobility Group, 25% is the regional group.
Okay.
And then we have another company that is still under PIERER Mobility Group, that is the service company.
All right.
And is the company that we are using to restart all, let's say, the supply chain. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
My role is to be the interface with the group, so PIERER Mobility side, for the distribution. So it's a role, let's say, at 360 degrees. So I will have the chance to see like all the markets.
Ah, that's great. That's really good. Well, you're very good at your job, so I'm excited to see what you're going to do with MV Agusta. I personally do not have MV Agusta at this point, but I'm a fan of the
Not
brand.
yet.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the brand, and you know, MV Agusta has such a distinct style, and you know, everyone knows them from that. And being a premium motorcycle, but can you give me some insights on like the brand strategy that's going to set itself apart in this super competitive motorcycle market right now?
Okay, something that we didn't change is the tagline of the group, of the brand, that is motorcycle art. I would say this is a great synthesis of what the brand wants to be. We have brands that are focusing the resources of being the fastest on the lap time. We have brands that are focused on bringing the idea of heritage, the style of it, different times. We have brands that made their fortune as being associated to cars and be, the office bike. We want to do motorcycle art. What does it mean, motorcycle art? Well, if you think about an art piece, to my mind it comes to, I would think about exclusivity. That it doesn't mean I'm exclusive because I say that I'm exclusive. Exclusivity for MV Agusta comes from the fact that production is really limited. And is limited by the fact that it's made in such a special way that you cannot increase the production more than a certain number of bikes. Now we are thinking that when we'll be at full capacity, we're talking about being around 10,000 units, something more than that, but no more. Because is a golden number that allow us to have a level of finishing and a level of details that is just absolutely unknown to the motorcycle world. But exclusivity means also the place in which we show the exclusivity of the display of these bikes. That it doesn't mean just being in a fancy area. It means the way you approach the bikes, where the journey of the customer starts, and you have the feeling of entering in an area that is something different from what you've seen before. It's exclusivity also in choosing the customers. Since we have such a limited supply of bikes, we know that we'll have to choose the people we want to work with. And our experience, let's say, strategy goes really into being close to the experience that has been done in other industries that are not even related to the watch industry, to the motorbike industry. So sure. I'm talking about the watch industry because there is someone that says, you never own a certain watch, you just watch it after for the next generation. This is something that we had in mind, thinking about the current business on MV Agusta. There are people already today, they are purchasing the bike for the newborn son. By the time he will be 18, he will have the fantastic present that is MV Agusta. Wow. These are the customers that is not even a strategy that we are deciding. It's something that is already happening. So we just want to leverage on this customer base and say, okay, now we bring all of this to the next level.
Wow.
So second pillar of this strategy is precisely about this incredible craftsmanship. It's something that you can see already today. When we brought this bike to our PM project managers in PIERER Mobility, they look at the bike and say, how the hell do they manage to make this bike so cheap?
Yeah.
Because the level of finishing is already something that it's not, you cannot make it at industrial level. Painting a fuel tank of a Rush, it's a bike that comes to my mind now because it's going to be late on the market as usual, but it's due to the fact that it's really, really handmade. And therefore, there are challenges that you generally wouldn't have if it was like a standard production,
Sure.
right? But this is what makes every MV Agusta different from the others. And the third point that, in my opinion, makes the difference when you're talking of like motorcycle as art is the feeling of ownership. The pride that you have of owning something that it's not the regular bike. It's something that allows you to be, first of all, it gives you emotion without just, opening the garage, you have an MV, it's like, wow, okay, it's already an experience itself. But then also whatever comes with it, because we see that MV customers tend to be a sort of a club where you share a certain kind of experience that is very different from what we've seen in the past with the owner clubs, big rides together. It's different. The customer of MV wants something that is maybe sometimes less related to the pure ride and more related to something that is uncommon to, let's say, the general commuter of this industry.
Okay.
It's not super easy to define, and this is why it's fundamental for us having some partners that are really keen to work with this new concept, because we are always touching, let's say, segment of the industry that are not totally related to motorbikes.
Okay.
So it's a complex word, and
Okay.
that's why we believe that arts describe better what we want to do rather than focusing on the usual performance or
Okay.
common strategies.
So building a strong customer relationship, in this industry is super important. How's MV Agusta going to focus on enhancing the overall customer experience from, like the time the guy comes in the showroom to the time, he has the bike at his house?
Let me share with you what I've learned so far. MV Agusta can divide its customer base in two big groups. I would say you have the majority, like 75% of customers that are still like bikers in the strict sense. So these are customers that are expecting all the best practices of the industry just to the next level. And then you have a 25% that is different. They are collectors. They are looking for something that is very different. So let me say, for the first 75%, the customer journey has to touch the points that I was mentioning to you. First of all, customer experience, purchasing experience that is different, totally different from what you can see today. There is a lot of discussion in the automotive industry, how much you have to be, on digital, how much is still important, like the brick and mortar shops. For us, the experience on the ground, the touch and feel, all this feeling is still like fundamental. So the first part is the first approach to the bike. And this is why we want to stress so much the importance of our partners on the ground. The fact that you will be able in the shop to see already that your bike can be customized at the level you could customize a luxury car, let me say a Ferrari or Bentley, it's an experience that today you cannot have. The fact that you can enter and you can see that bikes can really become something that is tailor-made on you is the first feeling that should tell you, wow, that's an MV place.
Okay.
Then, to me, is also fundamental the leverage on the fact that these bikes are timeless. The fact that the showroom should not only be focused on selling the latest product on the range, but actually, I work in a few Ferrari shop recently, and I was surprised how many of them had no new car at all, only used car. But this is precisely the point. We don't want to push the sales on whatever we have there. We want to make the brand put in the mind of the customer that if you have an MV, it's forever. And it doesn't matter if it's like these years or 10 years ago model, we still see displaying like this F4 or F4 Claudio, or I even seen like a Brutale that was made for the World Cup of Italy in 2006. This is the essence. You have a piece of art that is immortal. You have it there. You don't chase the new color. You don't chase the model year. You just want the one that represents you.
Okay. So in the current market right now, where are you guys then setting yourself up? Like what's your strategy for where you're going to place yourself in the market?
The vision is being the most desired brand, most desired bike. If you think about the motorbike, what do you think about, what does it come on the top of your mind if you think of the best of the best? MV Agusta.
Okay.
It's not just about, being the best at something. Is not just about performance, it's the package. You know that MV, you are a level that is different.
Okay.
Today, let me say, I see brands that if we make a comparison with cars that arrive up to Porsche for a level of customization, for the level of performance, for the level of how you take care of your customers, the level of service, MV has to be the next step.
Okay. How are you guys, how's MV Agusta going to, what thought process have you got to support the dealer network? When you guys, fully set up the network, what kind of support are you guys looking at giving the dealer network?
This is a fundamental point, because as a brand, you always struggle in 2 points. Capillarity, you want to be everywhere potentially, and at the same time, you need to have a service of a different level, right? But these two things don't really match, don't really go together. And in MV, our strategy is strongly into finding the right partners. And I make no mystery that the first phase of this MV journey is being like choosing and cutting the current network only to keep with us the good ones. Reason is our partners have to be profitable. Because if you have like happy dealers, you have unhappy importers in the case in certain markets, but especially all the chain works. So we want our partners to be fully engaged. They have to appreciate the journey that we want to do together, okay? Because this is not a brand that anybody can do. This is not a brand that I would suggest to anybody that wants to work on the number. This is a brand that has to be focused on the quality, and as a group, we will support this dealer to be fully focused on the customer experience. That in substance means we won't have many shops around the world. I can share with you that we are targeting somewhere around 200.
Okay.
SKTM, we have 200 in Asia only.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want them to, they will be able to open only if you have a market that is of a size that is big enough to remain profitable. And eventually we are going to share a lot of activities in which we really have to work hand in hand.
Okay.
In one key point of all luxury brands is customer retention. To do customer retention, you must have a CRM that is a customer relationship management system that works in a way that at this stage we still don't have, okay? But for MV, the communication between the manufacturer and the dealer must be total. I was mentioning before that there is a 25% of collectors that are customers that in general we want to know by name. And that means that we need to share everything that is related to these customers like if we were a single company. We cannot own all the shops around the world, okay?
Sure.
But the idea today is that if you're a dealer at MV, you have full visibility of everything that has happened to these customers in a way that you are fully able to service them in the best way, in a fully like tailor-made way for these customers. In substance, this means data sharing, but also integration with IT technology. For example, we're already using on our bikes an app that is called MV Ride. And this is great because the next step is we will be able to calculate the mileage of every bike. We will be able to provide an information to our customers about their service before they are aware that they have to do the service.
Oh, okay.
So the dealer will be able to say, dear customers, you're going to have a ride for the summer season. If you don't mind, I can come and pick you up the bike in June and you will have ready at your place 3 days after, so you're ready to go. This is the level of integration we want to have. This is the reason why we are limiting so much our partners, and we want to be sure that they are focused and they share the same idea that we have regarding how we want to build a brand.
No, that's great. That's cool. So currently right now the technology on the bikes is able to have an app that they can download the app, and then it communicates with the bike, and then that app communicates directly with the factory in a sense.
Correct. The app is already up and working. Of course, we haven't started yet this data collection. We have to pass through some approval level. Of course, especially Europe is stricter than US.
Sure.
So we have like data management is something that has to be revised. We need like a lot of approval, but let's say the technology is there.
All right.
And this is on the bike is already available. You can look on it. You have this sort of data analytics on all the trips you have done. Like, it's already, I would say, the most advanced app that is in this industry. The next step is connecting up the customer, the dealer, the manufacturer all together, so we can have this full visibility and give a full support on to provide like a best possible service.
That sounds good. That's great. I think a lot of manufacturers are trying to figure out what's the best way to do that right now, and I see that really being beneficial really for the customer, but also in the point of understanding, how much individually they ride, and the anticipation of what they might need, as you see, well, we know that you guys are going to need tires and 10,000 kilometers, so let's anticipate that and make sure that we reach out early so we can have the stock in hand. No, that's great. Okay, now put on your KTM hat, which you have a lot of experience in, and you've spent a lot of time inside dealerships and in multiple countries. What kind of challenges do you see right now in the motorcycle industry, or what kind of issues are you seeing that could be affecting things?
I see, to me, the biggest challenge, I would say, in general for the industry, is that the customer base of younger riders is diminishing. This is a matter of fact. We see that, let's say, the smaller bikes today are struggling for many different reasons. It can be like in Asia, we are seeing the customers are moving towards maybe scooters for a matter of convenience, but Europe is struggling for a matter of taxes, is struggling for the fact that maybe motorbikes are not seen as the way to, the tool to gain the freedom, and it was in the past. Many people today would consider more to have a new iPad or new iPhone rather than the motorbikes. That's for us is a big challenge, and not as a brand. Big bikes, okay, they're not going to sell to the 16 years old, but these are customers that we have to be sure that they have an experience they have to have a chance to experience what does it mean riding, so that when they will be in age for a motorbike, they will consider to enter in our world. And the other challenge that I see is what I was mentioning before. There are other brands like, Tesla. They're pushing a lot on the digital channel. So there is a certain vision, or where basically the manufacturer will bypass the dealership. Okay. So how do you address that? let me say, for the first point, we just have to be closer to this new generation. And as a group, I can say that we are considering more and more things that were not on the radar before, like placing a motorbike in the video game. It was not something that was really, 10 years ago, nobody would have ever considered that.
Yeah.
But we have to consider what is cool today.
Yeah.
What is considered like a status symbol, what is considered to be something where you want to be. For sure, there is like product placement, movies. There are movies that change the history of motorbikes. You
Sure.
think about Easy Rider. It's
Yeah.
a stereotype that for a generation remained there. Today we still have to work on that, but we also have to address channels that we didn't use before. So the IT division will definitely be important. As MV, there are already like discussion on, giving we already provide like a certificate that is related to NFT. You have the bikes that is certified to be original. These are all things to explore. Not really because they give, in my opinion, like a great benefit to the customer, or like this digital app, but because you start talking with a customer base that today is not looking anymore at the direction we're used to work with, like reading magazine, for example,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And once again, MV practical terms, you already have this MV ride that gives you all the stats. If you take a picture in a place, you know where you've taken, at which point on the ride, how much you were leaning. It goes a bit more into this digital channel. When it's about a dealer, to me, it really depends on what you're selling. So today, if I were a dealer, I will consider what I want to do, what is the business that I like, and where I want to be in the future. There are dealers that are focused on mass. The problem of mass is that the more you go into the mass, the more you get closer to products that are commodity. The more you're selling a commodity, the more the transparency that you have online can really put you out of business. Because eventually, if the bikes are all the same, if the cars are all the same, if it's like buying a soap, you can consider the online channel because it doesn't make any difference, right?
That's right.
My answer to that, and this is what is key for MV, so it's not like our choice, it's just something that we must do, is working in a way where thinking like, if I am a dealer, what can I provide that Amazon cannot do? And then you have all a series of services that are really difficult that they will become digital. Who's gonna buy like a Valentino suit online? You don't. You want to have it like fit on yourself. You want to touch and feel the material you're buying. You want to see on a different light. The shops of MV Agusta, if there is something on which we are really keen, is like how you like the bike. You want to see the different shade of the paints. You want to see how the paints changes under a different lights, right? These are the things that will keep on making the dealer competitive. If you manage to be a point of reference, something that you say, yeah, everything awesome, I like the bikes, but I trust that guy because I know that he's gonna telling me what's happening, what is the best for me, how should I prepare my bike, how should I make the setup, what are the kind of accessory that makes my life better, which are the activities that can be dedicated to me. Okay, that's the person that I trust, that's the dealer I want to work with. And even if tomorrow there is like some online promotion that maybe is like, 10-15% convenient, I still trust my guy more.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So finally, what advice do you have for dealership operators? How can they, in your experience and what you're seeing in multiple different dealerships, what advice can you give us that would help them really thrive in today's market? Like what are the things that, maybe give me 2 things that a dealership should focus on to do good in this current climate?
Choose the business that you want to do, because it's fundamental that you are aligned with the brand strategy. The supply chain, it's very simple. If you want to work on efficiency, you cannot work on luxury, and the other way around. If you want to work on luxury, you must have like practices that takes time. They are expensive. Of course, the return is higher, but it's a low rotation. So you have to be set up on a very efficient structure, best of the best of your salesmen and men. I mean only one, because these are the numbers you talk when you're talking of luxury. While if you want to stay on the volume, on the mass maker, on the mass products, you must have like maximum efficiency. Be in a place where you keeps your cost as low as you can, and just keep the margin that you need to make volume. So first of all, choose where you want to be, choose who you want to be, and the second thing is try to be the point of reference of the manufacturer in that place. No manufacturers, I mean, the more you increase the number of dealers, the higher is the difficulty to keep an eye of everybody. Every manufacturer wants to have a point of reference, like a dealer they can trust, a dealer that they know it will suggest them what to do in the next step. So I'm not saying that you have to be like a mono brand or multi-brand. This really depends by the area, but just be sure that you are the best of what you're doing, because eventually you are the one that can get the information first before the manufacturer. And if you become a point of reference first for the customer, then the manufacturer, you are sure that your position, you have an area which you have a monopoly. So you're going to be the one that will always have the first information, both from one side and to the other, to the customer side.
Right on. Well, thanks for coming in and joining us today. I really appreciate it. And it's really fun to see, this new thing come out of MV Agusta. It's such a classic brand that now it has the life of what PIERER Mobility can bring to it. And it's going to be really fun to see how things go over the next few years. So thanks again, and I really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You bet, thanks.